Here's an example problem. We're going to set it up together. So JT subscribes to a cell phone texting plan with 3 other members of his family. Within any given month, they cannot send more than 500 text messages total. At the end of this month, JT had sent 25 more texts than his older sister, 50 fewer than his younger sister, and 125 more texts than his mother. How many texts could JT have sent if they did not go over the 500 text limit? Alright, so let's define all the variables in the problem first. Okay, so we'll say JT's text, so this is separate, we'll keep that up there. JT's text, we'll just give him the variable J. So that equals the number of texts by JT. And then we have the older sister, so we're going to give her an O. And I just put the dash through it so it doesn't look like a 0. That's number of texts by the older sister. What should we call, Steph, what should we call the variable for the younger sister?
Y.
Yeah, let's do Y. And remember, it doesn't really matter what your variable is, but we just want to give them something that makes sense. So this letter, we can remember who we're talking about here. So Krista, we've got one person left. It's the mother. What should we call her?
An M.
Let's call her an M. All right. So, all right. So we've got 4 variables here for our inequality. And to set this up, we're going to add all these together, and they have to be less than 500 texts a month. Okay? So we're going to go J plus O plus Y plus M has to be less than 500 texts a month. So that's our equation right here. And what we're trying to find with all of this information is J. What's J here? How many texts can I send? If I'm JT, how many texts can I send without going over our plan for the month? All right, so this is kind of the first part of this equation. And the next part, let's define some things with more information. So the first thing we're going to do is try and define O right here. That's the older sister. So we'll use JT's texts. And we see that JT has sent 25 more texts than his older sister. So J is equal to...
J is equal to O plus 25.
Yep, exactly. Great job, Krista. And then the next one, we've got the younger sister. So, oops. We wanted to find these in terms of J to start, so I made the mistake of writing Y there. So he sent 50 fewer texts than his younger sister. So J is equal to Y minus 50 texts. Okay? Does everyone see that in the sentence here? 50 fewer texts than his younger sister. And then J is also equal to, in terms of the text that Mom has sent, M
Mom plus 125.
Exactly. All right, so we've got all this information here, and we're trying to find J up here. So the way we do that is, remember, we can solve an equation if we have all of these terms defined in terms of J, one variable. All right, so we can do a little bit of math over here and switch some things around over here in these equations to get all of these variables right here in terms of J. So for this one, for example, to substitute in a J term for this older sister's term, how do we get this 25 to the other side? Remember, you have to do the same thing.
Minus 20.
Exactly. So we're going to subtract 25 from this side, and anything you do on this side of the equation, you have to do on the other side. So this becomes j minus 25 is equal to O. All right, does everyone see how we figured that out?
Yep.
All right, so now in terms of y, how do we get this 50 over to this other side?
J plus 50 is equal with y.
Exactly. J plus 50 is equal to y. So we added 50 to this side, and we also added 50 to this side. Okay, so we've got that one here. And then for the last one, how do we move this 125 over to the other side?
Minus 125.
Exactly. Great job.
J equals
J minus 125 is equal to M. All right. So now that we have all these equations, we can substitute our J's in for each of these variables. All right. Okay, so we'll take the first term is just J, and then the second term right here, the O, we figured out that O is equal to J minus 25. So we'll just add that in here. And then the next term is Y, so what do we put in there?
J plus 50.
Yep. And then our last term is M. So
minus 125.
exactly. And all of that
Still equals less than 500.
less than 500. Exactly.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In this, if it says cannot send more than 500 text messages total, does it mean it's either lower or equal with 500, or is it just
lower?
lower?
So it says can't go over the 500. So that's a really good question, and we might have missed that in the interpretation. But when you're setting these up, you really want to be careful because of that. So I would actually interpret this as it says does not go over. So this does sound like a equal to or less than. So that's a great catch. We're going to add that in. So it's less than or equal to, because you can go up to 500. So we'll put that in here. And that does matter for how many texts you can send. So, all right, so let's work on solving this all together. So the first step, we're going to count up how many J's we have. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4J. And then we've got, I shouldn't even write anything yet, but we've got a negative 25, a positive 50, and a negative 125. So what's negative 25 plus 50?
Plus 25.
Plus 25. So we have 25 minus 125.
Minus 100.
Minus 100. And that's all less than or equal to 500. And so now we're going to do the same sort of operation. So we're going to add 100 to each side of the equation. So now we have 4J is less than or equal to 600. And now, to just get J by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 4. So J is less than or equal to 150 texts. And that's our answer right there.
Yay.
So, from all this information, we broke it down, we set up the inequality, and we solved for each variable in terms of J, and we substituted them in, and at the end of the problem, we figured out that JT has to send 150 texts or less in this month, in this particular month, so the family doesn't go over their plan. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, all right.
Good.
So we've got a few more problems that we're going to go around and work on our own. And if you have questions, let's pair up. Let's get in groups of 3 or 4 and work through them together. And then if the groups have questions, raise your hand and I'll come around the class and help you guys out. So, That's solving inequalities.